Welcome, everyone. I am super excited to be here for this webinar. Last week of August, it is nice here in New York, only 69 degrees, though I suspect, Rhonda, it might be a little bit hotter where you
A
are.
little toasty. I walked the dog this morning and I have to say it was a little humid.
Little humid. That's the worst part of summer. Well, welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited about this conversation. So let me just set the stage a little bit for this webinar. Years ago, when I was at CoinDesk, right when I started a media operator, I was in charge of all digital revenue. And for me at that time, digital revenue was stuffing as many ads as possible onto the page. You had the chum box at the end of an article, you had sticky rollers coming in with ads, you had video units. That was by and large how a consumer media company like CoinDesk monetized. Um, Boy, did I learn a thing or two when I jumped down the rabbit hole of true data-driven monetization. And so that's why I'm really excited about today's webinar, because Questex has developed robust programs built on its first-party data. And by using marketing automation, they're able to drive incredibly high quality leads to their partners that has resulted in millions of dollars in revenue. This is not just throw as many ads at these people as humanly possible. This is using very clear-cut behavioral and declarative data and smart marketing automation to really drive targeted messaging. And fortunately, I'm joined by the woman who's in charge of all that, Rhonda Wunderlin, who is SVP of Performance Marketing at Questex. Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you. I cannot take full credit because my team played a big part in developing and continues to play a big part in delivering on this program, but happy to be here.
That's the joy of being the boss. We get to take all the credit, right?
Oh no, never. I could not do anything. I could not be in this position without my team. They're amazing. Shout
I
out
say
to
that
Whoop, the
I say
Blue
the same thing.
Angels.
Love it. Love it. Cool. This is going to be a lot of fun. But before we jump in, special thanks to Omeda for making this webinar possible. Omeda is an audience engagement platform built for organizations that depend on strong audience relationships to grow. Their solution combines a customer data platform, marketing automation, and subscription management all in one place. With Omeda, you can put your first-party data to work, connecting channels, personalizing experiences, and driving revenue without having to juggle multiple tools, much like Questex does. Head over to omeda.com to learn more. Some quick housekeeping rules. We're going to keep this tight, about 40 minutes. Q&A is turned on, or at least it should be turned on. If it's not, then leave your comments in the chat. We will take your questions, so ask them, and I will try to kind of get them all answered as we go through the run of the show. But Rhonda's a busy woman, and we've got a lot of things to cover. So Rhonda, you ready to jump in?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So this conversation sort of started because Questex, when they were at Omeda's event back in May, presented a campaign that you had all run for a nomination for one of Omeda's awards. So can we start at the very top? Walk us through what exactly you've all built.
So we call it an account activation center, but really what it is, it's looking at what our clients' needs are and their specific ICP and doing more, going beyond just a lead gen program, whether it be a white paper or webinar, going beyond display. And we certainly have had clients over the years that do larger programs with us where they'll buy display, they'll buy newsletter ads, they'll, do a webinar or a white paper. But the goal of this was to really help create a holistic journey leveraging QActivate, which is the platform we built several years ago, that takes not just our first party data, but marries it with behavior of those individuals and how they engage with our content, and then continues to feed that cycle. So with the account activations, we were really looking to do something that was more of an integrated program. I mean, we all know a lot of our buyers, our clients are people who are in marketing. And so they'll work on these programs, we'll collaborate, we'll get some really great leads, and we hand them off to marketing, and then they disappear into the ether of the sales team, right? And you don't know, were they good leads? Did anything close? And so our goal with this program was to really help move their clients or their potential clients through awareness and interest into conversion. And so that's what we've really built with this multi-touch, multi-channel leveraging marketing automation program.
And so what was the like starting point for building this automation engine? Like how did you identify the right place to start?
Well, I think, everybody wants leads, right? They want new buyers, they want new prospects that have intent. They don't want their salespeople wasting time with cold leads. So it's definitely the focus is around the lead gen component. But how do we like create that awareness and move them through the buyer's journey? And I think that is the big difference between this program and other programs that we offer is that we really do take a step back and look at what that journey looks like. So, as we built it, we thought about reach. What are the different channels with which we can get reach? What is the content that's really needed that can help drive that progression through the top of the funnel down to conversion? And then how do we show the ROI to the client? What kind of insights can we provide back to the client so that they can see the value of the effort of the program? So that's really where we started, is trying to put those pieces together from reach, content, and insights.
Okay, so let's try to break it down and look at the anatomy of one of these campaigns. So, like from awareness to conversion, what are the various touch points that a Questex reader might see for a campaign?
So, without going into the tactics, one of the things we've worked on with our clients that close these programs is that we look at the content as the key driver, right? It's got to be valuable enough to the audience. So, looking at what their customer profile looks like and what kind of content we need in order to get that conversion rate. Um, so really, I think that was kind of the key part, is getting that, the content right. I think the other value that Questex brings is we have done a ton of work on our first party data. So the key to actually getting to the right audience is making sure you have clean data, right? And that's where the data-driven kind of practices come from. So it's not just, oh, this person at this company, because, they're a C-level person, and those are the kind of companies I'm targeting, big pharma, for example. It's more like, what is their job function? What is their job level? Is it the right company type? And so we've done a lot of work over the years where we have a lot of automated data cleansing program. So having the right content and then getting it to the right people at the right stage is really kind of what drives the momentum of this program. I don't know if I answered your question though, Jacob. Sorry, I got all into the mechanics of the program.
That's
I
good.
do, and it is all through marketing automation. So we'll probably talk about that later, but there are multiple paths. If you do this, you go this way. If you do that, you go a different direction. If you don't do anything, you move over to this path. So there are multiple journeys based on where that content fits in the funnel that we try to move these ICPs to.
So let's look at it as that funnel. So, if we look at the top of the funnel, right, purely from an awareness perspective, what kind of
Mhm.
content are we talking about that might fit within that level?
So it's more like educational content like, do you have a problem with this, or do you see an opportunity with that? So it's really kind of just talking about not the company, not the solution. And that is definitely a pain point that we've had to overcome in these programs where we get content from our clients that is very sales driven. And you really can't start with that. You really have to start with, what is your situation? What's the need? What's going to make your life easier, your job easier? What's going to make the company more money? So it's more around the awareness of the problem would be at the top of the funnel. And then what are various solutions that could address that problem, kind of middle funnel. And then at the bottom of the funnel is where you have that more salesy content, case studies, ROI calculators, that type of stuff. So it's getting that content just right. And to support that, part of the program is we provide content. So we work with our clients on, they can like white paper, webinar, they have the option to choose one of those. We also do an executive interview. So we have all this surround sound mixed in with, married with their content. And so it provides kind of a fuller picture. And the way that we actually develop the elements of the actual program includes display on and off our site. It includes surround sound on native articles as well on our site. And then along with, of course, email, which we all know email drives lead conversion as the top channel. Um, but so it's kind of all of those elements pieced together. And the way the automation piece works is once someone engages with a top level asset, then they're moved into the middle of the funnel. And if they don't, they get a second top funnel asset. So therein lies the value of the multiple pieces of asset. And so in addition to, the content on our website, the display ads on and off our website, we also create a content resource center. So we have all of this particular clients, all their assets in one place. So if I happen to click through a display ad to take me to a piece of content, say it's a white paper on our resource center, then it will automatically serve up kind of like YouTube or Netflix, like the next piece of content you might be interested in. So that's kind of the whole package that a client gets when they engage with us for account activations.
So if we start up top with like a piece of thought leadership content that's very broad, it's not like salesy, it's more, there's a problem, there are ways to solve it. Is the actual, from a marketing automation perspective, is the trigger, if the right target reader consumes this article, they then get entered into the journey? Is that how it works from like a Questex website into the journeys?
Correct. But we also, we don't just, that's from the website, yes. However, for like our email marketing, for social media, for display ads, we really do more targeting. We don't just blast it out to everyone. We really look at who are the right people because we're running 50 to 80 lead gen programs at any one time. So we don't want to just blast out
Yeah.
everything to everyone. And in some cases, we've had to, especially when you look at like biotech and pharma, they're very like unique solutions for unique roles and functions. So in some of our programs, we actually have pieces that we would only promote to this one segment of the audience. And for this segment, we would promote a completely different asset. So once you get past that awareness down into the middle of the funnel, we start getting much more targeted in those engagements.
And are most of those segments built based off of the like declarative first party data, job level, job function, company type, and all that? Or are there behavioral segments based off of the types of content that your readers are consuming that also inform those
So for
segments?
the top of the funnel, it is very much kind of the demographics of the who.
Yep.
And then as they start to move down the funnel, then it starts to get their progression through the funnel, like their behavior drives the next action in the program.
So a segment, let's say on biopharma, let's say that you're trying to reach pharmaceutical manufacturers. If that target audience reads an article up top, they engage with it, or they maybe engage with a white paper. The second they've engaged with that white paper and they are the target for that sponsor, they then get entered into your journey.
Correct.
Okay. How many steps are there? How many steps could there be in one of these journeys from that awareness all the way to the
Crazy.
bottom?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the submission to Omeda, but it has images of the actual Odyssey campaign. And so no, I'm trying to think back. There's something like there could be as many as like 15 to 18 steps. Again, if somebody, for example, if somebody clicks through an email but doesn't actually take the action, the call to action, then we'll wait a week and the program will send them the same email with a different subject line to try to get them to engage. So we use opens and clicks as well to drive that next action, um, whether it's to move down the funnel or across, et cetera. And if somebody doesn't, I think we talked about second chances. If somebody doesn't get through the middle of the funnel, then we will, after a certain number of programs, we'll give them like a last chance, kind of offer for high value content to try to get them engaged.
I
But the
actually
results have been incredible. Like 50% of the leads that we end up getting for our clients engage with two or more pieces of content, and one out of three make it into the middle of the funnel.
Wow. So I have your submission actually. So I'm going to pull that up
Yeah.
real quick just to kind of show everyone how
Okay.
many steps there are.
And I think while you're doing that, I mean, one thing to note, and we can talk about that. I think this was a question you wanted to talk about at the end about doing one of these. So you definitely don't want to do the entire program from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel in one journey. So the way these programs are built, they're built into the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel as far as the journey goes. So when somebody meets a certain criteria and top of the funnel, then they would leave that program, just to talk about the technology, and then they would be moved into the middle of the funnel program. So that's the way that these are set up to work.
Yeah, and so what we're looking at here is based off of a user's actions informs the type of message that they might see. I mean, if we look at right at this middle part right here, you're talking about six different rules effectively, right? And the user's not getting all six of these, are they? They're only getting
No,
one.
right.
And so, I can zoom in a little bit more. It's not great. I'm in Microsoft Word. Um, so like what rules might inform whether they go down one journey or the other? Like what are the kind of triggers that fire here?
It's really just, it's purely engagement in the content. I think something else we do, because once they're in the journey, they're going through, right? And we just try to get them to, because we want them to stay engaged and to get to the second or third asset, because that provides our clients with the ability to prioritize their leads. So we can talk about reporting in a minute, but one of the key things that our clients love about the reporting is that it's not just here's your list of leads, but here's the list of leads. They engaged with this piece of content and this piece of content. So our clients know then which salesperson, which geography they need to send this to based on the content that was engaged in. So it's that piece. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought, Jacob.
It's okay. It'll come back. We'll keep going.
Um, anyway, what was the question? Come back
Well,
to the, you forgot the question.
it's okay. We're gonna keep going. So we've talked about the website, we talked about email, but you're also using third-party sources to try to drive people through these funnels as well, specifically third-party targeting using ad roll. Can you talk a little bit about
Right.
that?
Right. So, oh, you were talking about the triggers. That's what you were talking about. And I do want to come back to the triggers. But yes, so the elements are definitely based on, again, their behavior, right? So we don't just do ad roll unless we're really struggling with the program, just be fully transparent. Ad roll is really used to target those individuals that we know have taken that first action, right? So we are able to really be very segmented. We also use the personalization piece that's part of Omeda. So if somebody has gone through the top of the funnel, they're in the middle of the funnel, and they come and visit our website, they're known in our database, then they will get a very specific and personalized interstitial ad pop up that's specifically for them. In addition to that, this is where I was going a while ago, is that we have the known visitor universe in Omeda, right? Which is super easy to target them on our site through email, whatever. But those unknown visitors on our website are a little bit of a different story. So we do take, as far as looking at the data as the program's running, we use 5 by 5 to kind of match up and marry people that are in the proper ICP that maybe haven't engaged with the program, that are not known in Omeda. So we can target them one way. We also leverage Bombora so that we can actually look at the companies that are visiting that particular native article with the ads from that specific client. And we can see these are the companies that are showing intent for this company, for this solution. And we can also create segments with Umbora to actually do on and offsite display ads to them. So those are kind of some of the different elements that are layered in, along with social, and of course, as we've talked about, email.
So you use these segments that have already engaged with awareness level content to then do targeted offsite advertising to try to get them back into the funnel, if you will, and engage with
Right.
that mid-level.
Yeah.
What are the types of triggers that, for your campaigns that would that would result in someone going from that middle funnel to bottom of the funnel? Like, how do you define whether someone has finally reached the point of possible conversion?
When they've engaged with 3 or more assets. But we don't just share that data. We do provide kind of an overview of the campaign for our clients as part of our insights to say this is how many people landed in the top of the funnel and didn't move down. This is how many people moved into this level and to the bottom of the funnel. So we do provide that. And that's really kind of where we focus. So our clients really want to know, again, like how much content and what specific content did they engage in. But their investment is well beyond just, again, that lead list. It's about the impressions, the awareness. And so we're able to pull all those metrics from on-site, off-site display. So we can share those that, at the top of the funnel, as well as the leads that were converted at those different stages.
And so we've talked a lot about the various, it's all about the content, right? Whether that's awareness, middle, bottom funnel. How does Questex specifically help its partners with that content? Do you have a content studio that's creating all this
We
content, or
do.
like
We
how's that
actually have a
working?
pretty strong content studio. So we across, because we're in very various markets, as you know. And so we have particular content writers and SMEs that the content team works with, and the content team digital content team sits in the middle of Questex, the center of excellence, so we can support all the markets. So we leverage those content experts. We collaborate with the client on the content. And so these particular programs are really focused around webinar content that we deliver and build for the client. And it can be a collaborative or editorial type of webinar, white papers, which we also develop. And then the third element that's part of this program, depending on the package that a client chooses, is an executive interview. So being able to sit down with somebody from that company and have more of a, industry conversation versus a product solution conversation. And then those assets become part of this program and are promoted along with the client's assets.
That
And it
makes sense.
really, that's really, I think the two things that power this program are first party data, and then the second thing is, our position in the market. We're viewed as thought leaders, industry experts. And so when a client partners with us with the co-branded content, whether it's the executive interview or our webinar white paper, then they kind of are like leveraging our position with our audience and that thought leadership, and those married together, I think really elevates the client's content as well.
And that makes a lot of sense. We have a couple of viewer questions. The first is, what do you use for reporting the individual lead engagement? What content each specifically engaged in, and things like that? And are you able to do that with Omeda?
Yes, we are. So either through clicking through a content by a known visitor, we've known that they've gone to that asset. So we definitely can do that type of engagement. So the content sits on our website, but it also sits in this platform that I referred to earlier, our Content Resource Center, which has kind of a marrying of all the pieces of content. That is actually Path Factory. So Path Factory can say if somebody's been to that site, which assets they looked at, how long they looked at those assets. So we marry the Path Factory data in with the Omeda data to bring those leads together and that kind of which content, which is how we prioritize the leads for the client. And we do weekly lead delivery. And then monthly, we do like an overview of the whole campaign. Here's how it's progression. Here's where you are at the top of the funnel. Here's the details. We provide details on from Bombora on the kind of engagement score of the people visiting the site that their content's on. We provide the demographics of the top audiences that are visiting, the topics of interest via Bombora, like what topics are these people that are looking at your content or surging on, so the client can kind of leverage that as they create more content on their own. I think that's pretty much what we provide in the insights.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're getting a ton of questions, so I will make sure to get to all of these. But I do want to ask you, we talked a little bit about, email is obviously one of the most important for lead gen, but are there any channels or touch points that surprised you in terms of their performance or impact on these campaigns?
It's funny because I was talking to Josie, who runs audience development for us, about this particular question. And I just say generally in our lead gen programs, we can drive net new conversions so easily with the interstitials on our website. But for these campaigns, we have found that newsletters are driving a ton of conversion. I think because it comes in with that trusted source of news. And so she told me just last week, I think there was 62 like leads that came in through a newsletter, like how sad that we had, which to me is really surprising and exciting, right?
Well, what's
Um,
nice about it is, unlike a dedicated blast that you have to like, you're kind of hitting your audience with more email, a newsletter, they're getting so much of that content that they want already, and then they're seeing something at the same time that is commercial for you guys. There's less
and it
audience
aligns.
fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot less audience fatigue. We have a question regarding Olytics, so the question is, are you using Olytics combined with Odyssey to create that top of funnel engagement, content engagement based targeting? That initial step of this individual engaged with this piece of content and therefore are moved into the top level of funnel. Is that using Olytics and Odyssey together?
I would be lying if I knew the specific answer to that question. I know it's
Fair
definitely
enough.
using, I'm sure it's using both because so the way, and I think this was one of your questions, the way our team is structured is we have our client success specialists who work with the client, understand their needs, and they collect the materials. We have our audience development team who very much partners with the client success team on doing the marketing promotions around the program to drive the leads and conversions. And then I have my marketing operations data team, and they're the ones that are moving all the levers in the background. So hopefully somebody can tell me, but it's all in Omeda as far, oh, here, we use Analytics page visit data to target. Boom, there's your answer. Thank you, Josie.
You're on Slack on a separate screen while we're doing this webinar.
No,
That's
it's right here on the same screen. Thank you.
okay.
Um, but yeah, true confessions. I don't even have a login to Omeda, so I'm not the expert there. Also, demos and other criteria are used for the main target list. Of course, yeah, that's just our first party data.
Cool. So let's actually jump into reporting for a couple of minutes because we actually gotten a couple questions about this. What kind of reporting are you providing to the client? Is it one consolidated report across the program showing all tactics with the stats, or is there something more granular by tactic?
Um, it is not granular by tactic. It's more the tactics based on the content used are provided in the funnel. Do you have that? It was part of the submission, the funnel. That might be good to show people. It
I
was on the
do.
second page.
Yep, I will pull that up right
Um,
now.
so we have that, and then in addition, we leverage. I can show you some of these other screenshots if you want. Like we gather all the data from GAM, like we use impression data from GAM on the promotional impressions and views that are just for the target accounts. So that's part of the report, the monthly report. And then the total content engagement. So like if somebody engaged with 3 assets, they'll count as 3. So we combine all of the engagements. Then we also break down just for oversight. Here's the targeted demographic, like here's the demographics of the people who have engaged with your content. And then, as I mentioned, kind of the top areas of interest from Bombora for these same accounts. And then finally, the scored lead list. But this image right here with the funnel kind of is the start of how the program, like when we do the reporting, here's like the overview of where we are with the program.
All right, so let's actually dig into this a little bit. So there are opportunities for leads to be generated every step of the way down here, right? Because someone's engaging with content up here, telling you that they're interested, which moves them into the middle of the funnel. They engage with more content, which moves them to the bottom of the funnel. If I was one of the customers of Questex and I bought one of these campaigns, am I getting full lead data at every level, or am I only getting lead
Yes.
data at the bottom?
No, you get fully data at every level.
Okay, so I'm
And
I'm I'm walking away with quite a few leads, really, but they're being scored. Is that it?
correct. And in addition, we do at the top of the funnel, um, we also provide the companies that drove those impressions. Based on, again, we can pull that data just so we're not providing PII on impressions, but we are providing like companies. So it kind of starts with the companies and then engagement at the top of the funnel, leads, and then it's more focused on the leads as you go down the funnel.
Okay, so because of the targeting on the site, you can and the data you have, you're able to know that someone from Pfizer read that article, even if you are not telling the partner it was the director of X
Yeah.
at Pfizer.
Exactly. Exactly. And with my board, we can actually take a look at like all the demographics of everybody who visited that native article, for example. The demographics, the region, all of the companies, all the top like 20 companies or 50. I mean, we can see all the companies. Typically, what we provide back to the client is like the top 20 companies that visited the content on a native article, for example.
Are you also pulling that? So of the known users, are you also pulling that data from within
Omeda.
from Omeda that's saying, here are these people read this piece of content on the website, and you're then pulling out the company name only?
No, we pull that data, company data, mostly from Bombora,
Okay.
and we really focus, Omeda is our marketing database. It's focused on an individual, and Bombora is much more broader, focused on companies. And as far, one of the things we haven't talked about, just the program, as far as the purchasing of the program. It can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and then the leads that we deliver average about 200 a month. So clients are in the end buying leads, right? So we deliver 600 on average for a 3 month program and 1,200 for a 6 month program. And it's also just one cost. It's not like if we do more of these kind of promotions, you pay more. If we do less, you pay less. It's the program and it's an integrated program packaged priced for the package.
And I guess that's my next question about pricing. When the pricing is created and presented to a partner, is it based on the number of steps? Is it based on how many assets they have? Is there an element of, Questex is going to have to create 10 pieces of content, or do you just say all of that is behind the scenes? It's going to cost you 25 grand a month. You're going to get 200 leads or whatever the number is. Off to the races go.
Right. So it is sold as a 3 or 6 month program. We don't do like 1 or 2 months of this program because it just takes too much to build and support it. And it would cost the same amount to build it if we did it for 2 months or 6 months. So it is for the whole package. The assets we tell the client they can provide up to 12 assets. Typically, we're around probably 9 assets. Again, depending on the package they purchase, they can include a webinar, a white paper, an executive interview, or combination of any of those, or just one of those. So again, that is based on the program, what the client's looking to deliver. We do have clients that struggle with having the right content. So, and that's probably been one of the learnings is not just take the content they give us, but actually like map, not because we take the content, then we map it to the different stages. But it's like, yeah, this is never going to convert anything if it's just a product spec sheet. So I think collaborating with the partner is something that we've evolved to, after the first probably 3 or 4 programs we ran to really work like this is more the content we're looking for. And then in some cases where they don't have that content, they can add that on as an additional offering as part of the program.
At the top of the webinar, you mentioned how one of the problems, I'm going to paraphrase it. One of the problems with lead gen is that, we generate all these leads, we give them to marketers, and then they sort of just disappear into the ether. The idea for a campaign like this is at the bottom of the funnel, you've got highly engaged leads that have demonstrated some intent. How are you driving those leads or giving those leads to the partner? Are you integrating with their sales forces or whatever to give them those leads? And is there like a flag that shows up to a seller at one of your sponsors that says, hey, this person's a high quality lead? Like, how does that work?
So, that's the $1 million question, Jacob. And it's 1000% dependent on the client. So to address the first part of your question, yes, we do have clients where we integrate directly into their CRM or marketing tool, whether it's Salesforce or a marketing automation tool. So we have done that forever and continue to do that when the client is looking for us to do that. Um, as far as what happens, I think it's dependent on the client, what their processes are. We provide them that sorted list. I think that's the value that the client's getting beyond just a lead gen program, is that they are scored and ranked based on mapping to their ICP and their engagement. And then some clients we get great feedback from. I remember one of the first programs we did ended up in like a $300,000 deal for the client. So sometimes we actually get the feedback when we're working with sophisticated marketers. And sometimes, especially with agencies, we're really not sure where the leads go. So it's kind of, a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's always nice when a partner actually tells you that a deal is
Yeah.
won. Makes
Right.
life a
And
lot
those,
easier.
and those are the ones that renew. And we have had multiple of these programs renew, 6-month programs that renew, as well as some of the 3-month programs that have renewed. So it's been good.
Can we talk for a minute? We have a question about audience data. How do you integrate your event audience data into your both your all the first party data that you have, but then to expand on that, how does events fit into this specific program if it does at all?
So part of I've been doing this for a long, long time. We were talking earlier, I was at Eloqua, which is, one of the first marketing automation tools that was developed. And so for me, it's been critical, no matter which company I've worked with, to have one view of the audience, right? So you need to have all the data in one place. And Omeda has become that central marketing database for us. So not only do we collect the behaviors that normally would be collected in Omeda, we have that many to one relationship built. So if somebody's attended an event and say they attended in 2022 and 2023, they didn't attend last year and we're marketing to them this year, all that data is stored as behavior data within the platform. We also store, they downloaded a white paper in October of 2024 that was for this particular client, like for IBM. We know we have all that behavior associated with that individual. And the way we've structured the database within Omeda, it allows the marketers to go in and really target and segment based on all those variables. So the demographic variables, the behavior, which again, what comes intrinsic with Omeda, the behavior on the website, what articles or topics that they've looked at. The one thing we don't have married in that centralized view is the Bombora data. So that would be the one piece that we have to kind of manually mush together. But yeah, we work with our registration partner for the event data, and we get files dropped into an FTP site, and then Omeda sucks them up. And the way we have the program built, it has all the rules that say you're going to pin this or not append this particular variable, but we certainly have the behavior for every event they've registered for, they've attended, they're a speaker, if they're a sponsor. We collect all that data in Omeda. Oh, we push all that data into Omeda, I should
Right.
say.
One view of your audience, no matter
Right.
how they engage. But so thinking about events, though, and I know this is technically not your purview, but I'm gonna, we're gonna have fun anyway. You can almost imagine a scenario, and it's not even imagining it, where you have this top of funnel moving users down all the way to the bottom, where at that bottom of the funnel, you could then attach it to one of your events, where the people who have engaged with the most content, well, why don't they get invited to the event to
One
meet
to
with the
one.
sponsor? Yeah. Are you guys doing that yet?
We have definitely started. Last year, we started doing these nurturing campaigns for clients that pre-show to kind of help them get people to their booth. And then in addition to that, we do post-show nurturing programs. The people who they scanned at their booth to kind of help them reach that audience. Um, I think this year we've really kind of focused, Questex has really started to focus on the one-to-ones. And I do see a huge that's what I wrote down here, pre-show one-to-ones and then post-show to keep the conversation going, right? So I think there's a huge opportunity for us to do that. I think that program would be like more of a like a 3-month program though, maybe a scaled down version of it, but with the goal being at the end that you meet on site with the buyer. I mean, the seller and the buyer meet on site. That'd be fantastic. So working
Yeah,
towards that.
that sounds, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's, in the AMO newsletter that we published yesterday, we talked a little bit about how media and events should be playing together more. Uh, and that
I'm
is an
with you on
example,
that.
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I
you
could
tell
go,
me, Jacob, why does everyone talk about this like 360, 60-degree view, like keep the conversation going post the event, but nobody really actually is doing like talking about actually doing it. Like, how are people from your perspective? Well, sorry, I know that I'm not supposed to be interviewing you, but how are media
okay.
companies that have events, how do they keep the conversation going the event last day of the event and post the NPS score? Then what?
Well, so I don't think it's an issue so much for media companies with events. Like you guys are
Oh,
able to
it's
do that
okay.
through, it's event companies without media.
Don't have it.
They're the ones who have a challenge there because, the issue is it boils down. This is not the purpose of the webinar, but I'm going to do it anyway. It boils down to multiples, EBITDA multiples when businesses are acquired. Trade shows have a higher EBITDA multiple. They tend to trade for a
Mhm.
higher EBITDA multiple than media businesses do.
Yeah.
And so, if you're an events company and you're thinking about selling, one great way to increase your multiple is to become more
Event.
focused on just events. And we saw this, right before the pandemic, there were a number of companies that sold their media assets to get more streamlined. The value there is, you have a higher margin business with trade shows. Private equity loves it. The downside is how do you engage your audience for the 362 days that you're not hosting a 3-day trade show?
Right.
That's
Right.
the issue. I think that we're going to see events companies go back into media. Maybe not in like we're going to hire journalists and we're going to do like, cover
Not
the
like the
industry.
UBM days.
Yeah, but I do think that there will be more events companies will do media just because,
Just
even in examples like this, being able to engage your targets and be able to get down to the one-to-one meetings appropriately requires a funnel approach. So
okay.
that's my thinking there. Anyway, not what everyone showed up for, but you get to hear my ramblings about that
I
anytime you
love it.
want. All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So two last questions real quick.
Okay.
Um, as these campaigns are running, how does client feedback shape how you adjust the campaigns in real time? Does that happen?
In reality, the once the program kicks off, the client is mostly concerned about the quality of the leads and the flow of the leads. Outside of that, they aren't involved with the promotional aspects. I mean, they provide us creative, that type of thing, but we write all the marketing copy, the landing page copy, the imagery that goes along with the marketing promotions. Like we leverage a lot of that based on what the client initially provides us. So there's really not a lot of adjustments made from a client perspective unless it's to the ICP. And we all know in sales conversation, some things get lost in translation from what a salesperson talks to a client to when it actually gets to delivery. So we do have occasions where we need to clarify the ICP. We only want US leads, or we want to primarily focus on India, that type of thing. So there are adjustments made that way, but pretty much as far as the campaign tactics and strategies, that's really driven by Questex.
Makes sense. Um, what has been the biggest challenge in rolling this out? I'll give you a couple of choices. Is it A, identifying the tactics that work the best? B, getting the clients to understand like the types of content they need to provide to you, or C, the sales team being able to articulate this campaign so that it can be easily sold?
It's going to be B. all the way. It's so funny. Josie just texted me B all the way. That's what, yeah, I mean, it is definitely the content from the clients because they're just like, here, we're paying you to take this campaign. Here, go and run with it, you know? So that's definitely been the problem. I think as far as the sales, selling it, we're doing it in our, I mean, where it's being sold is in our larger fierce market. So telecom, fierce networks, pharma, lifestyle, healthcare. And so those sales reps are dealing with more sophisticated marketers and more complex products. And so we really haven't struggled with that. I would say, and it wasn't an option, but when we started, we were really focused on kind of your account list, you know, who are your target accounts? And really being able to narrow down because a client would give us 50 accounts and you're never going to come up with 1,200 leads over six. I mean, it's just like there's only so many people you can reach. And so one of the transitions we made working with our clients was to look beyond and at lookalikes. And that has proved hugely helpful because clients are like, oh my God, I didn't even know that this company would be interested in our solutions. So it's really helped provide our clients with like new opportunities that they weren't even focused on.
That's awesome. All right, my last question. Let's imagine, and it's a nightmare of an imagination, but let's imagine you're not at Questex, and you are hired to help a company who is just starting out with this. Where do they begin?
Definitely start small. I mean, I used to, when I was at Eloquent, that's 25 years ago, and we'd go into a client who'd never done a nurturing program. Um, you really need to think small. Don't build something as complex as you saw on the screen, but just a couple of journeys, right? Like start with what you know about your audience and how can I really target them with the relevant content, the relevant messaging, and how do I know they're going to be interested? So start there. And then we've always done it just a big whiteboard. And you'll be surprised once you start mapping out like a little flow chart. If they say, if they don't do this, send them down this path. If they do this, send them over here. And then you have an email that does this. It can get really complex really fast. So start simple, whiteboard it out before you ever try to start building it. But just you need that foundation of data in the audience and the content to really make it work.
Love it. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Rhonda, thank you so much for doing this with me.
That's fun.
I had a lot of fun. And special thanks to Omeda. You heard it multiple times on this webinar. Being able to pull this sort of campaign off would be very difficult, having to use a bunch of different tools. Fortunately, Omeda makes it possible to bring together all of your first-party data and all of your marketing automation into a single platform. So this is something you want to learn how to do, whether you already are an Omeda client or you're not. Head over to omeda.com to learn more. It is August 27th. Thank you all so much for joining us on this great end of right before Labor Day, Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you all soon. Take care.
See you in New York in October.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Bye.